and welcome to Chapter Select at the Movies, where myself, Jens, and Randy, the other host, go through terrible video game adaptations.
at least, at least we're just being honest now.
Yeah. Though, in this case, we're much more timely than usual. I think this is the first time we've ever done a movie theater movie.
Yeah, first movie theater movie. I think it's the second one we've ever. I mean, obviously, The Last of Us was timely, but as far as our movies went, I think
Yeah,
this is
the closest was Monster Hunter, which was when it came to that's the home video release. We were hitting that.
Monster Hunter, and I want to say the newer Mortal Kombat we hit. Just because it hit HBO.
Oh yeah, because you're right. That was a pandemic era release, so that makes sense.
Yeah, but this is the first time we've actually went out
to the movie
theater to watch a video game movie, which reminded me of why I absolutely hate movie theater experiences.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, the difference is that you went to a matinee showing on a Saturday, which is when the worst people go to see movies. Whereas I went to see it on a Tuesday night.
I'm smart.
Actually, kind of an amazing thing. The last time that I was in the theater all by myself was A Million Ways to Die in the West. And that was a good experience, even though it's a terrible movie. But I just really enjoyed being in the movie theater by myself. So,
yeah, I mean, if you can go by yourself, it's great, or very few people. And I knew it was going to be rough. Because, like you said, it was Saturday evening or early evening, but that for my family was the night that worked the best. Just it happened to be a Saturday that I didn't work and had to wait for Haley to get off work and made sure the kids went. And for the most part, it was all right. We had, kids laughing, I had no problem with. But we every time that Haley and I go to movie theater, it seems like unless we go on one of those random nights where we know nobody's going to be there, she ends up sitting next to just the most annoying human being on the face of the planet. We had a group of like 4 or 5 adults who had to have been on something because while this movie is enjoyable and funny at times, they overreacted to every joke.
Oh, okay.
And over laughed the whole time to the point of like, all right, guys. Like
Mario, were they announcing the characters and stuff and explaining things to each other?
Not from what I could hear. Okay. Maybe they were a bit more quiet. It was just the over the top laughter at times. It was just on like the most pointless stuff.
I'm not one for audience participation.
Yeah.
As I said, I've caught myself incredibly lucky that I just kind of lucked into like a private showing, basically.
Right. It worked out for you.
Yeah. Because I do hate crowds and I hate people. So, and movie theater etiquette has gone completely out the window. I think
it's so bad.
Acceptable. Back in the 90s, when I used to go see a lot of movies, I thought it was a good experience overall on average. But I think the average has certainly shifted. But as I said, this one, I'm happy, but it makes absolutely perfect sense that, you didn't, considering when you went.
Oh, yeah,
so,
absolutely. We went into it knowing, and I think it helped us be a bit more tolerable towards it and not let it take away from our experience. We've had movie experiences where I came out of the movie going, that movie's horrible, but it was just because of the experience. We were able to do our best to kind of block it out.
Movies that I thought were great movies objectively, but I had a terrible time. Like Avengers Endgame, I had such a bad time because the audience was horrible, and it was, midnight premiere kind of thing. But people were way too into. I mean, like to the point. I've got no problem with people being enthusiastic, but you don't need to be like hot damn or it's whatever outbursts. Laughter is fine, but you don't need to announce, oh, he's hulking out.
God, right?
I don't need that.
But
I can see it. You don't have to describe to me what is happening on the screen. I can see he's hulking out. Why are you telling me he's anyway? You know what I'm
absolutely.
talking about.
But I will also say, we're on a tangent, or it's a nice tangent. But there's also been movie experiences that I've went to that the movie wasn't as great as the movie experience turned out to be. Have you ever watched the movie The Mist? The Stephen King adaptation. I like the movie. I really like the movie. However, for whatever reason, just a random chance happening, it ended up at we don't have it anymore, but we used to have a dollar theater, and we waited till it hit the dollar theater, and then we went, and it turned out like just random, half full, 2/3 full, which was strange for the time that we went because we went on a random weeknight. But the entire audience was just into the movie and not going over the top like you said, but like a character would act crazy and you could just hear the crowd like, oh, I hate him. You could just feel it. And then one of those bad characters would die and we would all cheer and we all got into it. It was
for
really
that
fun.
movie. I'm not going to spoil The Mist because I actually want to say, if you haven't seen The Mist, you should see The Mist.
I agree.
Just to the audience at large, because that's a great, it's one of my favorite adaptations, actually, of King's.
I agree.
It's a Frank Darabont movie, and he's a great director. He made Shawshank, you know?
Yeah, it was funny because I know it came out before, but again, I was a Walking Dead fan until they ran it. They jumped to 37 charts.
Right.
But it was funny to watch the first season of The Walking Dead after watching The Mist, and like half the cast was the same.
Yeah, a lot of the same actors. Yeah, like Angela's in it, and but you know, as I said, not to spoil it, everybody should watch it. Yes. But I can imagine that being a really great experience with that crowd, specifically because that movie has one of the best and most shocking endings of any movie. So that must have been like an amazing reaction.
Oh man. I saw very few times. I don't read a lot of books. This is one of the few times I'd actually read that story, and obviously the ending is different than the story. Yeah. And not to spoil anything that happens, I had a different reaction than the rest of the crowd did. To what I won't say positive or negative, but it was an interesting. Well, I will talk about it after we
we'll talk about it afterwards.
Yes, go watch The Mist. It's absolutely great. Anyways, the Super Mario Brothers movie. We watched Super Mario Brothers and the weird cut thing that Jens made me sit through an extra 30 minutes.
Last time we watched Super Mario Brothers the movie. This time we watched the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yes,
important distinction. Yeah.
So this works out with video game fans because we're used to this.
Sure.
Or they just give it the exact same title, and you're like, wait, what? Or Alien and Aliens. Oh, now that's a sequel? Oh, okay, cool.
No, that's
a movie, but still. So, animated movie, which obviously gives it a different feel than what we had with the live action.
It gives it an advantage of actually being able to look like the games and do a lot of the stuff from the games. In fact, do a shit ton of stuff from the games.
Oh, yeah. So, I'll ask you just point blank. First point of the movie, not your overall thoughts on the movie, just the biggest issue through all the trailers that people complained about. Now that you've seen the entire movie, Chris Pratt as Mario, how'd you feel?
It's not the biggest problem of the movie.
I didn't think it was a problem at all.
He is, yes, I would say Pratt is inoffensive. He is aggressively average. And I forgot it was him pretty quickly.
And that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah, that is a good thing. So I really didn't question it. And they do the Chip and Dale thing. Yes. So, everybody who was upset about... Yeah, everybody was upset about the accents. They do the same thing where when they're in character, they're using the accents. And then when they're out of character, they're not. But by in character, I mean that the movie starts with kind of almost like a Super Mario Brothers Super Show type thing with a commercial that they shot for their new plumbing business, which I thought was quite funny.
They nailed that joke with, do you think that's too much as far as the accent goes?
It's a good way of hanging a lamp on the accent thing.
But he asked, was that accent too much? And it's Charles Martinet as a different character turning around and going, no, it was totally fine.
Is Martinet? He's like the original Mario, right?
He is the Mario. Yeah, he's the first voice of the video game.
No.
Marios.
I mean, in the movie. So in the movie, there's a character, and I think he says "Wahoo!" and then at the dinner table, he's got a few lines. but he like looks like the arcade Mario, and he's made to look older.
Yeah, he plays.
So he's like the original arcade Mario.
Yeah, he
right?
plays two characters. One that very much looks like the old arcade Mario, and he actually plays Mario's dad, the actual movie Mario's dad.
Oh yeah, so that was real good casting.
Which again is really cool. Yeah. We talked about it with Last of Us with Ashley Johnson then being the mom of Ellie in the show. They kind of do the same thing here, and it nails it. And it's one of the 9 billion references that they throw in this movie that I think really work. I love that you start in this movie in the Punch-Out Cafe or whatever the title is, but you have all of the little picturettes of all the Punch-Out characters, which, by the way, I know it is a horribly racist boxing series, but we have not gotten a new one since the Wii, and we need a new one.
What's racist about challenging people from around challengers from around the world?
Those characters being the most stereotypical human beings you've ever seen. That's
authenticity.
However, we need a new one because it has been far too long.
Those games aren't for me because they're very much they're almost like a rhythm game or something where it's like all about or a more dynamic version of like something like those old what are those Laserdisc games? Space Ace and Dragon Quest, where it's just like, do the prompts.
Right.
Which I guess is the birth of the what now is a QuickTime event. But I'm just not I'm not into that stuff really. I'm not into like, here's the tell, now press the corresponding button to the tell.
That's fair. But still, it's been too long.
It's not for me.
I want it back.
But I enjoy the art style and the character design and kind of everything about the presentation of those. And I always like watching people play them. But yeah, they're not for me. But I get why people like them. Anyway, yeah, all that stuff. If we talk about all the references, because this is the most Member Berries movie imaginable.
We'll be here too long.
We'll be here all night. So we can't do that. But we can pick out some, ones that stood out to us. And yeah, that's a good one for sure. Since we were just talking about the cast, I mean, you'd already kind of started talking about the cast, so let's just get the cast out of the way and kind of just talk about what we think of everybody. My personal favorite, I love Charlie Day as Luigi. I think Charlie Day as Luigi is
absolutely
wonderful, and it made me wish that there was more Luigi in this movie because Luigi gets kind of sidelined as a character. Though I guess the fact that they damsel Luigi but then give Princess Peach way more to do is better than if they'd gone the other way.
Yeah, they're stereotypical. And they do make the jokes with the princesses in other castles still.
Sure.
So they still make that joke, but it was nice that it wasn't just the princesses, the one.
What surprised me was just how prominent a part Toad had. Like, Toad had a lot more business than most of the side characters.
Very happy that they made Toad basically Captain Toad. Like all the other Toads
are like Treasure Tracker.
Yeah, all the other Toads look like just normal Toads, and to make him look different, he had the Captain Toad version of it. Keegan-Michael Key was fantastic.
He's great.
I think as Toad.
And I like the characterization of Toad in this movie. I think he's actually a really well-defined and likable character. And yeah, he gets he gets way more to do than Luigi.
Yes.
So that's something we're going to get to, because there is a bit of a Luigi's Mansion type sequence that I think they could have done a lot more with. But let's see. Then we've got Anya Taylor-Joy as Princess Peach. I like her. I'm a Anya Taylor-Joy fan in general. I don't know if I agreed with all of her delivery choices, but it may have also been like directing choices, to the point where like I thought that occasionally when she was meant to be earnest, she sounded sarcastic, just because Anya was doing like a cool girl type voice the whole time. Like, when she's telling Luigi how brave he was, like it does not sound sincere. It sounds mocking.
Well, maybe it's supposed to be mocking, because Luigi wasn't that brave. Luigi is the least brave human being on any of these Mario games. That's for sure.
Yeah, so maybe that's the point. Maybe I'll retract that criticism, and Anya was perfect. I did generally like her. Where do you stand on Jack Black?
He nailed it. 100%. Really? Absolutely loved his rendition of Bowser in here. I will say that his song to Peach was the thing that I
Peaches.
do need to re-listen to when I don't have 4 adults on whatever they
Oh,
were on, because
that to me was the most cringe part of the whole
and
movie.
that was the funniest thing they've ever heard.
Mm,
Both times it gets,
that's brutal.
both
Oh
times
yeah,
they
and they,
get
like they
played.
end the movie. That was the thing that really bummed me out. Is they ended the movie with it.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
Sorry, but yeah, that's
but yeah,
the credit cookie or the start of the credits. Is we get the second half of Peaches, and it sucks. It really sucks.
but I think it's supposed to, and that was the joke of where he just starts saying
I
peaches
know,
over
but
and over. However, again, I need to re-listen to it because they
and
made
he's
it
doing his
annoying.
usual. If you want, that's why you get Jack Black, I guess, is
Mm-hmm.
because you want those Tenacious D
Yeah,
vocal stylings.
but just
So I
I think Bowser in conversation and the mix between evil Bowser and Bowser in love. I think
Smitten Bowser,
Jack
yeah.
Jack. I mean, I think Jack Black a couple times when like his minions would come in and tell him what was going on, and he would have that quick like switch of evil Bowser to. But does she like him? Can you tell if she likes Mario? Like just this, um, not selfish. What am I thinking of? Oh,
Self-involved.
yeah, and I think you just nailed it. Absolutely,
Yeah.
and I'm a big fan.
So he's my least favorite. I think
Jealous,
of
jealous is
all.
the word I was looking for.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense as well. Um, yeah, my least favorite for sure of the cast, though. It is because he gave them exactly what they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't really be too mad or criticize him too much. I just wish um, that they'd maybe gone a slightly other way. Though you're right, as far as him vacillating between Angry Bowser and Bowser in Love, there's some funny delivery there
Mm-hmm.
for sure. Who else do we have? Have we? Have we? I
Seth
think we've
Rogen, I
pretty much.
think to me it was
Oh
my
yeah,
least.
Seth Rogen is Donkey Kong.
He was
Now
probably
I
my
don't
least
know.
favorite, but again, I'm not saying it was bad, and he doesn't get a ton of time out there. I like the twist they have with Donkey Kong, where he's just this cocky dude, and Cranky Kong, his dad, is getting on him about like showboating and stuff, and
Yeah,
which makes sense with the scene that we get
it is
introduced with him
interesting that they
in.
made Cranky Kong like an old Jewish grandpa.
That one was really good. Again, I would not say that I thought Seth Rogen's performance was bad by any means, but this would probably be my least favorite out of the main
I guess.
cast. But
So Seth Rogen was just being Seth Rogen, but then again, Jack Black was just being Jet Black, and Seth Rogen just was a little bit less irritating to me. But both of them, you're right, they're kind of at the bottom of my list as far as the main cast is concerned. Um, which is surprising because I was really expecting to hate Chris Pratt way more than I did.
mm-hmm,
Chris Pratt was perfectly fine, as I said. So yeah, that's the cast. I think that covers pretty
mm-hmm,
much all the major characters. So yeah, the story. We start in Brooklyn. They've just opened their plumbing business, shot their commercial, and we get the character dynamic being that Mario is the big brother who protects Luigi. Luigi gets himself into scrapes quite a bit, and we start out in the pizzeria where I guess one of them used to work. I think Luigi used to work there, and he quit his old job, or maybe they're
no,
just hanging
Mario.
out because it's the family. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
okay, right.
Mario started this business, and he left like the
Yes,
family.
yeah,
But
they just started this
they didn't
business,
leave
but
the family business; they left the Wrecking Crew, which was a
okay, right,
reference
right,
to
right.
the first time we see one of the first times we have the Mario character is when they were in the game Wrecking Crew, which again was a great reference.
Oh, okay. See, I'm not going to get all of these references.
Yeah,
Uh,
again, I don't even know if I've ever even played Wrecking Crew, but
mm-hmm.
I've just seen it enough.
Gotcha. Well, is the guy who bullies them, is he a Wrecking Crew member?
I'm pretty sure he's the boss of the Wrecking Crew or something. I don't know if
Oh,
that's an
okay.
instructional thing, but that's just what I took from it.
Interesting. Yeah, so there's just basically this bully who's making fun of them and telling them that they made a terrible decision and mocking Luigi, and Luigi accidentally enraged smashes his phone or at least breaks his screen, so he laughed at, and then
Mm-hmm.
Mario is going to defend him, and that's kind of the dynamic of them through much of the movie. That as long as we're together, nothing can happen to us is a repeated phrase between them. And they've got that little brother big brother thing, obviously. And then another part of the arc that gets established early on, which reminds me of Robert Altman's live action Popeye, is that they give Mario a hatred of mushrooms.
Yeah.
So it's established pretty early on, like when they're at home eating, with his dad and family, he's picking the mushrooms out of his linguine. There's a lot of stuff about why won't you eat your mushrooms and all that, and then of course he has to learn to tolerate mushrooms later on when they become a power up to him once he's in the mushroom kingdom.
Was it needed as a character flaw? Not really, but it makes sense. I just looked it up, and Spike is the character that chases you around in that game.
Oh, okay, so it makes sense that he's the bully. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so we get a bunch of business in Brooklyn, which is cute, and time with their family, and Mario playing other Nintendo games. I think he's playing Kid Icarus. At one point.
That's a series we never need again.
Well, the 3DS game was all right, but at this point, there is a big, disastrous, cataclysmic event that threatens all of Brooklyn, where Brooklyn is just... Actually, no, I skipped. There is kind of a very funny, comedic plumbing misadventure, their first job.
Oh, so with the dog. I forgot about that scene.
Yeah, they do get a job, and, they on the way into the house, Luigi, I think, steps on the dog's bone and breaks it, and the dog gets really, really angry. And while they at first fix the plumbing mistake, they then get engaged in this incredibly destructive battle with this dog that's trying to bite them in the bathroom and wreck the entire bathroom. And we don't really see how they get out of it, whether they fix it, whether they, we don't really know what they do. It's
they just say the
scene
dog
just ends.
We found the problem, which was the dog, and they left.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good. Yeah, we found the problem. Yeah, exactly. So that's a fun little diversion, that scene. So they're down on their luck, just like the Marios were down on their luck in the '93 movie. But then Brooklyn just gets flooded, and they see this as their opportunity to make their name. Like, hey, it's an opportunity for the Mario Brothers to save Brooklyn. So they go there, and everybody's stumped of like, where's all this water coming from? And they're trying to pump it out, and the Marios are like, nah, these idiots, obviously it's over here. And he find a manhole, and as soon as Mario opens the manholes, water starts, reversing from overflowing to, going into the manhole. And then they both get sucked into it like a vortex. And at this point, it turns out that's the portal into the Mushroom Kingdom. And while they're in the vortex, Mario and Luigi get separated. They're in these... It's these like almost like umbilical cord-like glowy, transparent strands of energy that they're going down. And, that's where they first have the line of, as long as we're together, nothing's going to happen, just as they get ripped apart and put into two different streams. And Luigi ends up landing in Bowser's realm, and Mario ends up landing, near Peach's castle. So that's where they get separated. Of course, now Mario's motivation is to save Luigi. And that's how he first he runs into Toad, and then Toad helps him find his way to the castle, where, we get the Princess in Another Castle thing that you've already talked about.
Yeah, and we won't take the time, but the billion references as they're walking by. I only know this because this was one of the trailers that they put out, was the scene, and just so many things in the background that are references to everything. But this was the point to me where I really started taking notice of the music. You talked about it because you already have the soundtrack, but just the way that they intertwine, new versions of stuff with old stuff, and like at one point you're listening to one theme from Super Mario 64, and then all of a sudden it has like this hint of Super Mario World, and then it switches to this, all kind of within itself. Is just fantastic. And this was that.
It's unbelievable how well constructed the score is.
The first time, I think, in the movie where, like, you're just going, yep, that's from this. Oh, I remember this sound. Oh, I okay. And you're just, your brain and your eyes and your ears are just nostalgia out at this point. Which
it's incredible.
I will say, for us, we absolutely love it because remembering all this stuff. I'm curious for those that have never played a Mario game, and I do think this is why this movie is not scoring as well, is because you're getting critics.
Well, with critics,
where critics have zero nostalgia, so they're not getting hit with any of this stuff. So they're like, this
movie has one of the craziest critic audience score splits that I've seen on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, usually when we see this kind of split, it's because of review bombing, right? It's because it's a movie that is controversial in a culture war kind of way. And people are, and you get that thing where like 99% of critics love the new Star Wars, but audiences are 30% or whatever. That's like the huge. But this is, I guess, more like a more extreme version of the way Sonic was split, where like, it is an unbelievably huge hit with audiences, but critics are kind of middling on it.
Yeah, the Metacritic score right now is a 46 on Metacritic and an 8.7 user score.
Yeah. That's the same thing with Rotten Tomatoes. So that's just what you're going to get. I find myself more on the audience side because I don't really... I don't know what you would want out of this movie as a film critic. I don't know what else... Like, okay, it's not an amazing movie in the grand scheme of things, but considering the people involved, considering the source material, I think this is probably as good as it could be.
Yeah.
It's probably like, knowing that Illumination, I guess if you gave it to somebody other than Illumination, you could get maybe art out of it.
Yeah.
But as far as
Illumination's is out there, the story's there to follow or just drive us along, but the whole point is goofiness and nostalgia.
Yep. Yeah, and it's got more of a story than a normal Illumination movie, just because, it's a gotta fight the big bad, wants to take over the kingdom, gotta save the kingdom. That's a plot, at least. It's not The Secret Life of Pets or, most Illumination movies feel more like they're just a premise. Like you start with a premise and you didn't go very much further than, animals have a singing competition or whatever.
Or minions make funny noises.
Yeah. I mean, the Minion movies, I guess there is plot, but I don't know. No, Illuminations just never worked for me. And even when they adapt things, like their version of The Grinch just has so many missteps where it completely misunderstands what The Grinch is.
Yeah.
And I think in this case, because Nintendo was so involved and somebody else wrote the screenplay and all this kind of stuff, all this oversight, and there's just an attention to detail and a love for the source material in this that's evident in every frame
100%.
And in the music, and except, and I'll be there are things to complain about with the soundtrack to this movie, and it's got nothing to do with the score. It's got everything to do with the typical Illumination. We've got to have song drops, and it's of course the most basic bitch obvious song drops that you could possibly put in a movie.
Well,
like I heard "Holding Out for a Hero" 3 times in media this month. It was in Shazam 2. It was in the Tetris movie. Actually, it was in the Tetris movie twice, both in Japanese. There was a Japanese cover and a Russian cover in the Tetris movie. And now this. And of course, it's generally, one of the most overplayed. Shrek 2, Short Circuit 2. It was in an episode of Loki.
Hey, don't get all up on Short Circuit 2 now, or we're gonna fight.
I'm just saying. I actually like that song. I mean, Holding Out for
a
Hero is
overused.
a great song. It's just that's super overused. I like Mr. Blue Sky. That was in Guardians of the Galaxy. Like,
I think that was a Chris Pratt reference.
Yeah, which again they shouldn't have. All of those are horribly misjudged. Take on Me by Aha for introducing the Donkey Kong, realm. I don't understand that pick at all. Thunderstruck AC/DC. I can kind of sort of live with in the context that we get it, which is for the beginning of the kart race. So all of those, by the way, there's orchestral music on the album that Brian Tyler wrote and got replaced with those songs. So there's actually more music on the album than...
That's disappointing then.
in the film as far as the orchestral score is concerned. Yeah, there's great stuff that got cut. But anyway,
back on.
That's my biggest complaint is I don't like the song drops. I think the song drops really are a detriment.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I mean, there's so much more music. I think you could have been just fine with the score, but
yeah, and the score's so
to
good.
make things so mainstream, good. I think directors and producers feel like they have to throw in these well-known songs, and I totally get it. Back with the plot. My favorite my favorite line. Mario, hold on, my favorite line comes up here when now Mario is trying to save Luigi, and he has to meet this princess because that's what Toad says he has to do so. When they meet, he has found out that she's in the middle of trying to protect the Mushroom Kingdom from Bowser, and they do the cool little map thing where Bowser is taking over the Ice Kingdom and is moving this way. One of my favorite lines in the whole movie that just kind of came out of nowhere to me, and it had nothing to do with nostalgia or anything, was the point where the Toads are saying goodbye to Peach while she's like, all right, I'm going to go save everybody and stuff. And Mario's just there, and they're like, but who's that guy? She's like, he's no one important. It's all right. All right, movie. Good job.
Yep. Though at this point, we've already had, there's a big montage where Peach basically trains Mario. So
that was before.
Yeah, Mario is able to sneak into the castle and convince Peach that, hey, I'm looking for my brother. You're going to confront Bowser, so why don't we go together? So she makes him do a platforming sequence, which she's amazing at. So we see her do it perfectly, and then he has to learn how to do it. And this is also where he has to eat, like, I don't know how many mushrooms, dozens of mushrooms. And we see him throw up and all that. So there's some jokes there.
Yeah, and this is basically getting the gameplay in there where it does a great job of going, hey, remember when you were a kid and you couldn't get through World 1-1? And then you just kept working at it, and then you finally got done, and how good you felt. Well, that's what Mario just did.
Though it is not a World 1-1. No, it's much more.
The World 1-1 we saw at the beginning of the movie.
Oh yeah, you're right. You are right.
Like
to a T. One thing that I really liked when we were still in Brooklyn, there's a sequence where they have to get to their first plumbing job, and the car's broken down, so they got to kind of make their way on foot. And it is a funny thing because we see them do like the classic Mario platforming.
If you go back and watch it, because I only know this.
Oh, that's 1-1?
That's 1-1.
That's brilliant.
Put the city and all the blocks and stuff and obstacles.
I didn't realize that. That's clever.
I only know that because somebody on YouTube pointed it out. I was like, oh, that's cool. Here he's doing all the Mario stuff. It's like, no, it's 1-1.
Yeah.
Son of a...
They did really do a good job of getting a lot in there. The one thing that, I don't think they do quite as good a job is while Mario is doing all this stuff, meeting Peach and getting ready to go to Bowser's Kingdom and all that, we spent some time with Luigi. Luigi is in the haunted forest, and there's dry bones and ghosts and shy guys and stuff that he's confronted with. And we get a little bit of the, what looks like the... Luigi's Mansion art style and his scared reactions and stuff, and it's very cute. But I just wanted way more of that.
Yeah.
I felt like there was not enough, and also they missed a really obvious joke. Like they should have had him when they were in the mansion, he should have picked up like a
vacuum.
A vacuum or and try to like vacuum up one of the dry bones or something.
Yeah,
they should have done something there.
Hopefully that reference gets made in the second movie. Then
I could just watch a Luigi's Mansion movie. That's what I really...
For sure. Absolutely. This is where my critiques come in. Is I'm with you. There could have been a lot more Luigi Mansion section. When Mario and Peach first take off, you see just seconds of different worlds that were all in the trailer. So you're like, oh, they're going to go visit this, and they're going to do this, and how are they going to fit it all in? Nope, that was in sequence. All you got of all of those different worlds. So it was all Mushroom Kingdom and then a little bit of the Donkey Kong Country area. So would I have liked
it's just as a travel montage?
Yeah, would I have liked to see
the pyramids and we see Yoshi Country and
would I have liked to see more of those? Yes, but could I have sat there and watched 25, 30 more minutes of this movie for that to happen? Probably not.
I don't know. I could have easily done that, but then again, I actually do appreciate that this is like a 94-minute movie. which there aren't enough short movies.
Yes, I was
movies have
totally
gotten so long now.
Again, taking 2 kids to that one who's 6 years old. Who, by the way, shout out to my kids for they were fantastic the whole time. But you want those to get in, get out, and just have your experience. You don't need them to drag on and be even longer. So while there was a lot of things where I felt got cut short, and maybe we could have cut Brooklyn a little bit to make up for that. Length time, I was very fine with. But what did you think of the Donkey Kong area and that whole section?
Yes, yeah. So Mario and Peach, they eventually get to, Donkey Kong Country, essentially, where we meet Cranky Kong and then eventually Donkey Kong, and their whole thing is that there's a Kong army that they want to talk to King Cranky Kong, to convince him to lend him the army to confront Bowser together. We've got heart and you've got strength, so together we can beat him, type thing. Mm-hmm. And to prove that, or in a move that Cranky Kong obviously does not expect Mario to win, but he basically says, like, if you want my army, you're going to have to challenge and beat my son.
Mm-hmm.
And we get that confrontation. Now, as far as I said, I don't like the use of a-ha's Take On Me here, even though I like that song. I do like the big establishing shot montage, where they're just kind of taking that fast little was it a car or a cart or something? They're going down kind of the roads, and it's like a little tour of the city that we get when we first arrive. I remember
what they were in. It was just a Mario Kart, right?
Possibly. It was possibly. Yeah, I guess it was just one of the carts.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we get this, and we get to see some of the like racetrack and stuff and all that. So I thought that looked really cool. My big disappointment with this section is once we get to the fight between Mario and Donkey Kong, is that it's just so one-sided both ways. So it's just Mario has to take a huge beating for a while until the point where he gets a power-up, and then as soon as he has the power-up, Donkey Kong takes a huge beating, and it never feels like a real fight. At any point. It just kind of feels super one-sided both ways. And I don't know, I feel like Donkey Kong became a huge pushover once Mario gets the cat suit and realizes that it gives him cat powers and that he can, zoom around him and do. But like, I don't know. I wish there was more of a real fight between them.
I don't know. I kind of liked watching Donkey Kong.
Kind of Looney Tunes. It's very Looney Tunes, especially the first half.
I did like Donkey Kong just crushing him for a while. The catsuit thing was pretty funny. Him getting the shrinking mushroom was clever.
That's cute. And of course, it's an important setup for later in the movie when that gets used.
But I do think that this fight went on a bit long. And actually, this whole section, to me, was a bit long. We'll get there with the cart section and the racing and the fighting and stuff. That also felt like it was really, really long to me compared to other things that I felt were cut short.
Yeah. I don't know. I enjoyed all the Mario Kart stuff. So that's kind of the next thing. Once Mario wins and they get the Kong army, now Peach explains her plan of heading, like, we're going to take the shortcut. We're going to head Bowser off at the pass, and we're going to mount a surprise attack against him. And in order to do that, we have to all get in our carts and race there, because that's the only way we're going to make it in time. But Bowser is spying on them and knows of their plans. So instead of them surprising him, he surprises them with his own carts, and it leads to a big cart battle where you get to see, the shell and all that stuff.
I do have to say that them picking their carts and making it very Mario Kart 8-ish with the whole spinning of the dials to pick different parts, I thought was very clever. The music was the same. You have to hit the A button to confirm. Toad's big giant Hummer thing made me laugh. Where
that was good.
He rocked up. That was pretty good. But yeah, from then...
I liked seeing Rainbow Road. That was a good...
Yeah, Rainbow Road was fine, but just like Rainbow Road, it took forever.
Accurate.
It did. But no, there was a couple cool moments in this section of it, but in the end it was just all right, let's do something else, please. And it's even worse because you get done with the Mario Kart and then you're basically at the end of the movie.
Well, but I quite like this though because it is an opportunity for Bowser, who it feels at this point in the movie has been a little bit defanged, like everything is kind of going our hero's way for a while there. Except for Luigi, who is it's funny, Luigi and the penguins, who I'm sure everybody saw from the first teaser. That's the prologue of the movie where Bowser confronts them, which I don't know what game that is. The penguins.
There were bigger penguins in Mario 64. I don't know if those are these penguins, but
gotcha. Anyway, them and Luigi and this what's the white star that's just saying depressing things the entire time, trying to drive everyone crazy.
But he is my favorite character in the whole movie. He feels like he is one of the things that you collect in Mario Galaxy.
Okay.
At least like one of the helpers of Rosalina.
He's very funny just because he's just always talking about how, life is nothing but suffering and we're all doomed and death is our only respite.
They start lowering the cage and he's like, yay! I love
finally.
it.
Yeah, good character. So yeah, we do eventually, every now and then we cut back to Luigi in his little prison hanging in a cage above a river of lava. So we cut back. So Luigi's not doing great, but as far as what Mario and Peach are doing, everything's going kind of perfectly up until this point. So I do like the turnabout where Bowser surprises them on the road, and we get this big battle on the road, and they get captured, or at least Peach gets captured, I guess, at this point. And speaking of the member bear, I just liked seeing the wedding outfit from Odyssey. I liked seeing all that stuff. And yeah, at this point, Peach is captured and Toad is captured, and Bowser is threatening, if I'm going to kill you, Toads, if you don't marry me. So she agrees, and the wedding is on. But then he's going to sacrifice all the prisoners for the wedding by dunking them in the lava. And meanwhile, Donkey Kong and Mario basically are drowning. They fell out of their carts into the water, if I recall correctly, and have to save each other's life a few times. They get swallowed by a big fish. That then they get one of the rockets from one of the carts that they also find in the fish's gut, and they ride that rocket out. So it's like Mario saves Donkey Kong's life, and then Donkey Kong saves Mario's life, and they bond, and they're best buddies now. And they find a giant supply of power-ups that allows them to. There's this great kind of. It feels almost like a 3D Land or something type sequence. Their way to Bowser's Castle, which is basically having to go up a giant mountain full of platforming, but at the base of the mountain, there's just a ton of power-ups.
Yeah,
and they're co-oping it up together. It's pretty rad.
Actually, you just reminded me, just a quick reference and a nostalgia act, bringing up Super Mario World, but one thing that really got me is when they were
3D World. That's the one I was
thinking of 3D World, sorry, but
you're thinking of World Original. Sure.
Yeah, but you go back to the Donkey Kong country area, and when they are trying to deliberate, Cranky Kong and the rest of the Kongs with Peach, we had seen the map in the Mushroom Kingdom, and it was this cool little 3D thing. And the Donkey Kong world, it was the Super Mario World map, which did make me giggle a little bit, but that just popped into my head. But yeah, I liked all the different Mario moves and stuff he did as they were moving their way up that mountain. Yeah.
And then, once they're up the mountain, we get to the big finale. And gosh, it's been like a little while now since, like, as far as like what exactly happens in what order, I'm maybe not that good on. I do know that a giant Bullet Bill gets fired at one point.
Yeah, Bullet Bill gets fired. I liked how I forget. Did King Bob-omb get set off, or was he just threatened to be set off?
He does get set off. Yeah.
Yeah.
So right. So that's like early on during the wedding, they set off King Bob-omb, and he's furiously, desperately trying to put himself out, and he can't do it. And then he's just like, oh well, and explodes and takes a bunch at the wedding party with him.
Mm-hmm.
And that is kind of the start of it, if I recall correctly.
I think so.
Yeah. But then, of course, Bowser does a bunch of his fire breath, and Princess Peach, I think, has or is it Luigi holds up a shield to shield Mario for a while? No, that's later. That's when they're trying to get to the power up at the very end.
Yeah, then Peach has.
I think at this point, Peach
flower.
is defending Mario. Yeah, Peach is defending Mario with the ice stuff. And at one point, Bowser just gets super mad and fires the bullet bill, and then Mario has to stop the bullet bill, which he does by hanging onto it and then punching it in the eye, angering it, which is the classic bullet bill thing where now the bullet bill is going to follow him around and, taking it in a different direction.
He pushes it through the pipe, right?
Yeah, he gets in the warp pipe just before it explodes, and then we just see the debris and kind of a burst of pressure coming out of the pipe, but with most of the explosion, diffused. So he saves the Mushroom Kingdom from being blown up there. And then we all get sucked back to Brooklyn.
Yeah, we have to get back there so then
so that the finale can actually we get to see Bowser rampage through Brooklyn some, which is fun.
Yeah, we need kind of a reference back to the original Super Mario Brothers movie, where we end up in Brooklyn to finish off Bowser. But it is a cool moment for Mario to show that he is doing something positive for his dad to see and stuff. I guess
right, and he gets to prove everybody wrong. He earns the respect of that bully and of the dog that was mad at them.
Yeah,
that made me laugh. Is that the dog from that plumbing sequence at the beginning gives him a grudgingly respectful look. But yeah, before that, obviously, in order for that to happen, they have to defeat Bowser, which they do by eventually getting to that power. So Bowser has gotten one of the stars that's supposed to be Grant ultimate power, and they manage to get it away from him, and Mario grabs it while Luigi holds off Bowser's flames. Actually, they grab it together, which is kind of a cool moment, which I think that's a thing that you can pull off in the games, right? That
maybe
it is theoretically possible in which one's the one where Luigi first? Mario 2 World? Or which one is it?
Well, none of them you play at the same time until...
Oh, none of them have...
Until 3D World and stuff.
Okay.
Like the DS game, I think.
Gotcha. I do think it's theoretically possible that two characters can pick up the same star in one of those games. I think it's doable. So yeah, it's cool that that's in there. So yeah, they both pick up the star, and now they're both super powered up and beat the crap out of Bowser, and then force feed him the shrinking mushroom, and put him in a little jar where he,
sing again
throughout the. Well, the song sequence at the end. Yeah. That seems like it's just taking place in a black void. We don't really see him in the jar or anything. He doesn't have a tiny piano in the jar, which, okay, this is actually a complaint I have as far as the reference is. My understanding is that all of those mushrooms effects are supposed to be temporary. So the fact that Bowser remains permanently shrunk and they just keep him in the jar basically until whatever sequel requires him to be freed.
They put him into some void now. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know the way they make this work.
Yeah. They've saved Brooklyn and all is well. One thing that amused me about the backstory of Princess Peach in this one or versus Daisy in the 93 movie is they're almost exactly reversed. Because Princess Peach is a human that at some point when she was 5 or 6 crawled, got put through a portal to the Mushroom Kingdom at some point, crawled out of some pipe.
I think she was younger than 5 or 6, but yeah.
Okay, she looked like a tiny little kid, maybe 2 or 3.
Kids walk it before 2, and that kid was crawling.
Okay. Well, I don't know children. You're the expert here when it comes to children.
My two kids, super expert. So yeah, under
Yeah.
two. I'd say under two.
Yeah. I'm never having kids. Anyway, the the point is that she's a human who, as a little kid, came to the Mushroom Kingdom and grew up there, and that's her first memory is of being in the Mushroom Kingdom. But she's a human. Whereas in the '93 version, she's born of a dinosaur and comes to Brooklyn in egg form, but then is raised as an orphan in Brooklyn. So an inverted backstory for both versions of the character. I don't know. It just struck me as kind of interesting. Yeah. So that's Super Mario Brothers. No, that's the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yes. Did you stick around for the second credit scene?
Yes, I watched all the way
with
through the credits.
The Yoshers.
The Yoshi egg, yeah, cracking open like the end of Godzilla.
Yes.
The Emmerich Godzilla from the late 90s.
So, yeah, sequel will be coming, and I've heard rumors of castings.
The interesting thing about that is that it's in Brooklyn, that the egg is in Brooklyn.
Yeah, well, because it went through the pipe. Have you heard the rumor of one of the castings from the second movie?
I have not heard anything about the second movie. Please enlighten me.
So everyone wants Wario and Waluigi.
Of course.
And it does sound like that will happen because was it Jack Black? That was somebody sent this to me. But Jack Black, I think it was Jack Black, was having an interview and either hinted at or rumored at or just said that our buddy Pedro Pascal is supposed to be the voice of Wario. Or could be the voice of Wario in the second movie. That man is everywhere.
Man, I'd be happy if they just got a bunch more Always Sunny people. If you got like Danny DeVito as Wario and Rock McElhenney
would be so good
as Waluigi, you know?
But I only want Danny DeVito to be Wario if it was live action.
Okay. He's got the right voice for it, too.
He does.
But Pedro Pascal as Wario would be very funny.
I think it would be great. And he just did the whole Mario thing on Saturday Night Live, so he's already kind of in that world.
And he does have an asshole voice.
Yes. I think it would be great.
as Ellie said.
So in 3 or 4 or 5 years or so, we will be back here for the second
You think it'll take that long?
I don't know how long movies take compared to video games. I always go video game time with like 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think a movie usually takes if a studio is really motivated, they can make a movie in a year. A movie often takes like 2. If it's a blockbuster or something.
That's true.
Illumination's pace is relatively fast. I mean, they crank a movie out every year. I'm sure they can do it faster.
Yeah. So we will see when that goes, and then we'll get the Wario and Waluigi stuff. But right now, sir, I need a rating from you.
I'm giving this a solid 8. Yeah,
I
thought it was better than the Sonic movie. Not as good as Phoenix Wright. I forget what I gave either of those.
Let's see. Because I still have them up here. Sonic, you gave a 6. And Phoenix Wright, Old Ace Attorney, you gave an 8.5.
Okay, yeah. So it's 0.5 under. That exactly. Okay, good.
So you nailed exactly what you were expecting. I'm also giving mine an 8, which ties it with Ace Attorney. I'm with you. I think if I have to choose one of the two, I would put Ace Attorney over this Super Mario Brothers movie, but I have the original Mortal Kombat at 7.5, and I think this Super Mario Brothers movie is closer to being on the par of Ace Attorney than it is that Mortal Kombat movie.
That's fair. I think you overrated that Mortal Kombat movie a little bit.
Man, I think that was a nostalgia choice because I have watched that movie 7 billion times. And
that's fair.
Is it good? Like. Probably not, but I've watched it enough. I don't even care at this point. So I cannot fully disagree.
But this was very okay. It had great set pieces. Like all of the set pieces were exciting. Whenever Mario video game stuff would happen, it was always incredibly well done.
Yeah,
in fact, everything is incredibly well done as far as like the animation. That's the thing about Illumination. Whatever my opinion may be about their movies, and I do not like their movies. It's a studio that I've never liked. I had huge trepidations about this because it's them. But their movies always look pretty.
Yes.
Like the animation itself is always gorgeous. It's just the jokes are bad, or the script is basically non-existent, or the characters are super one-dimensional, and all that. And this movie didn't suffer from those problems nearly as much. It felt much more fleshed out. It felt much more dense with interesting things, and it had a proper dramatic through line. And I really enjoyed it overall.
Yeah, I was unsure how I was going to think of this movie. I had my trepidations, just I think a lot because we do this podcast and watching some of these movies is like these never turn out good. And I think they understood the assignment with this and they did a pretty good job with it. Is it an all-time great? No. But as far as video game movies, it's right up there. That's
sure.
Yeah. So next week, we already had announced it the week before, but just wanted to give you guys the heads up. But it is my selection, and I am picking Ratchet and Clank, which came out literally like a week around the time of the 2016 video game, which basically just has cutscenes from the movie or variations of. So if you've played that game, you've basically watched this movie, but it's the 7-year anniversary of it. And that's how I pick my movies. So is it going to be good? No, probably not. But I once again, we came back after our year and a half hiatus, and we had a lot of good with The Last of Us, and then we had the bad with the old Mario. Now we had a good thing. We cannot have two good things in a row. I cannot allow it. So that'll be my pick, and then Jens will be back to his, and then we'll just be going back and forth and torturing ourselves throughout the summer.
I have to really give this some thought.
You got a week to figure one out, sir. And there are still... This is the thing. When we came up with this concept for this version of the podcast, obviously the original version was video games, and now I just don't have the time to do that.
No, me neither.
But for the movie portion of it, I was always worried that we were just going to run out of stuff really quick. Now, it helps that we took a year and a half off, but we are nowhere near running out of great material of horrible movies to go, and they just keep churning them out.
Yes.
So
that's the thing. It's become such a popular genre now that I think we won't ever have a problem.
I think we will be just fine. But
I need to find something. If you want to alternate good, bad, I don't know.
No, you can go good, bad, ugly. I don't care.
Good.
In the end, we're going to be watching them all, hopefully. And we will get there and we will have lots of fun with it. So it doesn't have to, you don't have to like risk yourself by saying you're picking a good movie and then it turns out to be bad. So,
and we're doing this for you. We're taking these bullets for you. We're kind of like a firefighter running into a burning building.
I need a hero. I'm holding out for a hero till the end of the night.
What is I don't even know if he's still doing his thing. Do you remember the Nostalgia Critic? We watch it so you don't have to, or whatever his line was. That's us. That's us.
Right. Yeah. All right. He's still doing his thing. It's just nobody cares.
That's coming in strong from us. As with our 4 people that watch. Hi guys. But anyways, join us next week for Ratchet and Clank, and in the comments of wherever you're listening or watching this, let us know what you thought, and we will see you next time right here on Chapter Select at the Foods.
Somewhere just beyond my reach, someone reaching back for me.